Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 3 of the anime series Noragami Aragoto. Damn. Kuga completely ruled this episode with his just malevolence and demonic sort of equivalent, capabilities, powers, manipulation powers. From right out of the gate, we're seeing this, regalia of Bishamon's Aiha, who we've seen sort of cowering in the background, looking very sort of opinionated or distraught. Something was on her mind by her expression. Every time we would see her, she's been lurking around, skulking around basically in the shadows and keeping an eye on Bishamon. And we see that there's actually something going on between she and Kugaha as far as, Kugaha has been administering medicine. She's apparently blighted. She's got the full, eyeball effect on her back and everything like that. So we see that there has been manipulation there. He's been sort of working his way up through the ranks. It seems to signify by that revelation at the start of the episode that he's trying to cover all potential bases, get at all these different regalias from all these different directions. And we see how full force his prowess is. He's a master manipulator. He's got it all in the bag in this episode, and it's astounding. I didn't think Cosmo was going to actually make it alive by the end of this episode, because, it just got to the brink. And it all coincides, of course, with Yukine's constantly ongoing and evolving sense of the fear of Hiyori forgetting them and his wanting to experience that human life, pining for the life he had stolen from him and all these things. And he very much was just moved, and it became the most all-important thing to him to have a friend in Suzuha. And you got Yato. He's not coming out and telling him what happened. He doesn't want to affect Yukine in that way, in that sad and poor way, to have to drop the bombshell. Your friend is dead. He was murdered. He doesn't want to affect Yuki that way. Of course, it's kind of like a twofold thing where he doesn't want to hurt his friend. I think that's a large chunk of it, but it's also the fact that with Yuki becoming consumed by this depression and sadness, it's also going to potentially blight Yato himself. He doesn't want to feel weakened and everything like that. He doesn't want to suffer for Yuki's suffering. So it's a twofold thing, as I say, but it's absolutely mind-boggling and hilarious, by the way. The interactions between Yato and Hiyori, and then Yato and how we find Yuki got away from him, giving him the snack cake or whatever it was, throwing it like a dog, and Yato goes after it, and then he's like hiding in the garbage can outside the convenience store for Hiyori to, she catches a whiff of him, and he's being all sheepish. He's still very much consumed by that idea, that fear of what if she forgets me, that kind of thing. And she tells him, I'm not going to forget you. In fact, I'm going to move it up and want to see you every day, keep renewing the faith we have between us. And then there's the awkward moment. She kicks the garbage can, and an oncoming truck knocks it in the next week and all that kind of stuff. He's laid out, his back is all half broken on the floor as Yuki's trying to sweep up. I thought that was all hilarious, but it was a perfect contrast to sort of lighten the mood and catch you off guard for how deep everything suddenly swung, with, of course, Yuki going back to that tree, seeing that Kazuma was there, Kazuma being led almost like a dog on a chain by Kugaha. It was phantoms who attacked Suzuha. So of course Kazuma's going to want to go investigate. That means he's not going to be in Bishamon's realm, her mansion, her, whatever it is, her home, where all her regalia are, she herself as well. And Kugaha's going to take that opportunity. He's taking every opportunity, the master manipulator that he is, to push and manipulate and affect people this, that, and the other way. So that, of course, Kazuma is going and investigating the scene. He's trying to get a sense of what happened. He is all too believing the claim that phantoms took Suzuha's life, and whatever, sort of effects are there at the tree, at the site of the tree, seem to be enough that, he's okay with that. He believes that. He has no reason to disbelieve what Kugaha's telling him. And he's also blaming himself. He's also carrying around the guilt that I should have known better. I'm doing all these things. I got my mind on all these other different things. I'm not thinking about Lady Bishamon Vina, as, he refers to her quite affectionately. He saw a blight on her. He was led to believe that was incorrect. He completely missed one of her regalia. Maybe he wasn't called in a very long time, but he should have known is how he feels. And it's all because of that manipulation of Kugaha. He's got everything right where he wants it. Everyone is right where he wants it, so that he lays the smackdown. He lays the slam on Bishamon herself, saying, you know what? I saw him with Yato. I see him with Yato's friend. Something's going on with Kazuma. You should be looking into this. And as convenience or inconvenience, extreme inconvenience would have it, Yuki chases after Kazuma just as he's about to warp back to Bishamon's realm, and so he's along for the ride, and there is Bishamon. All of this BS that Kugaha has been laying on her plate, pushing all these puzzle pieces into play the way he's wanted it. It's all become this penultimate moment, this showdown with the just extremely volcanic, emotional, Yuki pleading to understand what happened to Suzan, pleading to understand how Bishamon could have been oblivious to it, pointing the finger at her, weakening her by weakening all the regalia of hers that are witnessing this unfolding. He's screaming at her. You don't care. You've never cared. You don't care about all of these regalia. You've never called his name. He was suffering so long and so hard because you just wouldn't remember him once. And we see that's not entirely the case. Of course, Bishamon, she is maybe a little forgetful because she has so many regalia. It is kind of a point of weakness. That's the whole reason Kugaha wants to take her down, because she's supposed to be this warrior god, this god of war. And instead she's taking in souls and trying to heal them and keep them safe and protect them, renew their lives, give them something to live for in the, sort of far shore equivalent, the after realm, the afterlife. She's trying to give them a life. And Kugaha is like a vicious dog. I mean, he is getting off. He is giddy. He's got this slack-jawed grin on his face when this is going on. He's watching as Bishamon's horrors are confirmed. Everything he laid into her mind is all coming to its fruition, with Kazuma standing before her and Yuki right there. Yato's regalia right there. It's the proof in the pudding for Bishamon. And she's brought to the point where she almost revokes his name, but then she's like, nah, forget it. You're exiled. Become a Nora. Because, of course, that was the back history of Nora and Yato. She's apparently had so many gods she's sidled up with, but she's obsessive toward Yato. Nobody can have Yato. I want Yato for myself. That kind of scenario, even to her own destruction. I think she'd go to her own destruction. I think she'd go to her own grave if it meant Yato, even in disappearing, even if he was completely forgotten by all humanity, because she would be able to embrace him in that fading away. She would only then be content. That would be the limit of what she wants. She wants to get everyone away from Yato, the regalias, in the case just Yuki, but even Bishamon's regalia, I think they're going to find an ally in Kazuma, as we see, because when he is banished, where does he go? Daikoku and Kafuku's place, where Yato and Yuki have been hanging out. So, I mean, we are seeing somewhat of an alliance building on the edges of this masterwork of manipulation that Kugaha has put together with the help, is my point to say, with the help of Nora. Nora is kind of manipulating and leading Kugaha in the same way that Kugaha is leading everyone else. She has her own wants. They're just going to use each other as far along as they can get before they can claim whatever they want. And in her case, she wants Yato. She wants him, for herself. And Kugaha just wants to wreak havoc and take Bishamon down. And I have to wonder, with the confrontation toward the end of the episode, once, we basically see that Hiyori and Yato are under the attack of this Aya, who again is another regalia manipulated to the nth degree by Kugaha. when that confrontation happens and she's wielding this weapon, and of course Yuki's back depressed, he's crying over the loss of his friend, and the seeming, disconcerting nature that led to Kazuma's being banished, he feels responsible for that, I'm sure, as well, because, he's not necessarily in tune with everything going on. Yato has yet to tell Kazuma of his awareness of Kugaha's involvement, but I almost have to wonder, because when Kazuma comes on the scene, he intervenes, he is able to quell, for the moment, Aiha and Kugaha, when they're trying to basically spirit away with Hiyori's, disembodied spirit, I guess we can call it. She's passed out, sleeping in her physical form, and her spirit's been roving. She was trying to help Yato in this confrontation. All these giant spider phantoms are all over the place. We see the hands of Kugaha as well. And you have that moment where Kazuma is trying desperately to put that halting spell. Like he manages to do it with Aiha, but Kugaha, that must not be his real name. That must be a false identity. And I'm wondering whom he really is. Is he even the Kugaha that, they always considered as the Doctor regalia, whatever his role in Bishamon's, entire cast? They must have, known him for a very long time, but I don't know if this is somebody else who has taken over that persona, is what I'm trying to say, or if it's just a regalia that over time has literally become malevolent and found ways to skirt that regalia system, that name system, so that Kazuma can't halt him. He's moving right at him, and he's about to take Kazuma down, seemingly. And this cliffhanger of Yato getting on the scene to find the still unconscious Hiyori, and hearing these words of Kugaha's, I don't know if he's actually hearing it, or if his awareness is just burgeoning as we're hearing a narration of Kugaha's over the cliffhanger ending of this episode. But it's all brought to boil. They apparently got away with Hiyori. We don't know what happens to Kazuma in his confrontation with Kugaha, who is unstoppable. This was Kugaha's episode. He manipulated everyone. He was, whisking people around like, so many rag dolls without any, capability of fending themselves off, of figuring out what was going on. Bishamon is weakening. Her regalia are all losing faith in her. In a steady process, we see that, again, with like Aiha as an example, some of them more than others. The fact that Kugaha has made Kazuma not only questionable to the regalia, but to Bishamon herself, adds to that in his seeking to just destroy Bishamon. And he's getting his kicks while he's doing it. He's getting his kicks by demeaning the names of regalias like Kazuma, who it was just a happy circumstance that Yuki showed up when he did, as he puts it to Nora later. And, we see how in tandem they are with working together for the moment. But I think Nora will spare no expense in dropping her need to even deal with Kugaha. It's her goal, just get to Yato. That's her only real impetus behind doing any of this. And so I have a feeling we're going to see turncoat natures between Kugaha and Nora even coming, where maybe they will go against each other. I don't know, but I mean, man, it was just a tantamount cliffhanger ending where it could almost seem like all is lost. How are they going to rebound from this one? And as I say, I'll be chomping at the bit to see the next episode, see how that's going to happen. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 3 of Noragami Aragoto, if you've seen it, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, if you were as stymied and gobsmacked by how effective Kugaha was in his manipulations, in his seeming successes of just taking down Kazuma, taking down Bishamon, affecting them so poorly, and being as master manipulator as he was. Just astounded. Love it or hate it, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this episode. And yeah, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Bring on the next one as soon as humanly possible, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.